see. Hopefully this is going to kick on here pretty soon. Looks like it's not recording. There we go. Hey guys, how's everybody doing? We're going to do the breakdown for Torsen-Winters here pretty soon. He's an Arbiter class. Just want to say hello to everybody. Nice to see you. Good to be here. So we're going to go into the meat grinder real quick in the Psycharium and check him out. He was the one that won the poll the most recently. So we're going to see how he does, and then we're probably going to post a new poll and see if anybody wants to see anybody else. So I'm trying to get my cords straight real quick. There we go. I don't know why I get wrapped up in those. So let's give it a go with the weapons first, and then we'll do the skill tree breakdown. I can't say that this is my most proficient class. It's definitely one I enjoy playing, but like I said, there's just a couple things I like doing, and I like supporting the group, and this is definitely one that can do that. So let's go to the operative. So we have a Crusher, the Mark 4E Crusher for his melee weapon. Obviously, like I've said before, for lack of a better term, defense is the dump stat. You could switch that up and change it around if you wanted to. I have not tried it, but I'm sure it can work out pretty well. And for that melee Crusher, we have the flak armor spec for damage, and then unyielding enemies for bosses. Thrust, because I've used this, and it works very, very well in conjunction with Opportunist. It's running versus staggered. So that strength will stagger a lot of things from heavy attacks. And the Crusher is really, really good at winding up. It's much quicker than a lot of those heavy, heavy weapons. So you can swing on this thing pretty often. Plus the 4 power charge is really good. I enjoy using that a lot. I've just found it to be a fun weapon. I used the Mason Shield for the longest time, but I kind of wanted to switch it up. Every once in a while you get tired of the same old thing, right? So, and then we have our bolt pistol right here. The Mark 6. Let's see. Mobility is the dump stat, like I said. Damage for flak and unyielding, so bosses, and then the most common armor type, which would be flak. On those blessings, we have lethal proximity, so they cause a explosion, and the radius is increased by 25%, and then puncture. Range hits add 4 stacks of bleeds to enemies. Just kind of a fun thing to have, because usually one shot from this will kill most gunners, like netters, anything like that. Even if you nail them and it's not perfectly on headshot or like center mass, that bleed will get them eventually. For talismans, it's usually, or for curios, I don't know why I keep saying talismans. Anyways, spec into toughness. All these aren't, I could make these 17% if I wanted to, but I don't bother. So we have combat, ability generation, stamina regeneration. That's just a little bit of that just to help out a little bit. The Arbiter's already so defensive that I think he can do without the extra gunner resistance. So we just put some stamina in there because it kind of helps us move around a little bit more. And stamina is one of your key ways of regenerating toughness, right? Or at least for this character it is. So we have combat, revive speed, and then toughness regeneration speed. And then same thing with this one. These all are kind of similar depending on what kind of classes I do. Toughness, combat, damage resistant gunners, and then toughness regeneration speed. So let's go over the talents. So I'm running this guy basically as support, right? Trying my best to maintain the group and help everybody out. So we start at the top and go a little bit to the right here with Hammer of Judgment. So gives us melee attack speed for hitting 3 or more enemies, and you can do that pretty easily with a Crusher. I think it has a side Vanguard sweep, I believe. Replenish 5% toughness and close kill. That's pretty obvious. It's fun as heck. On block, replenish 15% toughness. Now, I think this would be better with a shield, but it still does really well with the Crusher, right? The shield's going to be really nice to block things completely, like the actual Mason shield. But this helps just in a few weird situations where, like, say a Mauler's coming down on top of you, or like a Crusher. That could stop it potentially from killing you. Walk it off. I would say this is a very important talent for Arbiters. Just because spending stamina is something you do all the time. And it's crazy good. It even had to debuff it, I think, at least once. Then we go with the Volcanic Shock Mine. I really just like this mine because it's tons of fun, right? It's a really fun little tool, especially tactically. You can put it in cross points, choke points. A dog wave's coming up, throw it in there. As long as you can time it correctly, because it has a little bit of an activation time. That should be able to get activated within like half a second, right? Not even that. Arbiter gives us extra toughness. That's just, you have to take it. Concussive, so weak spots hits make enemy counters staggered. That's just really good for that crusher and that rending associated with it. Ammo belt, because, you know, I don't like to reload that much, so I probably could take this one out and replace it for something else if I wanted to. Suppression 4, staggering an enemy makes them deal 20% less damage. That's pretty obvious. We already are kind of spec'd into staggering with the crusher, right? Ruthless Efficiency, I could probably change this up for something as well. Probably either Breaking Disassent or party of the, well, not part of the squad, but I could probably easily replace it with Breaking Disassent if I wanted to. I just kind of like it because when the bolt pistol reloads, it's quicker than normal, right? I don't have any dogs, so I have a lone wolf, but I do regen grenades at that point, right? I also get damage toughness reduction, attack speed, damage, and +1 increased charges on the blitz, right? This one doesn't really matter. Cleave or impact. Impact because we've got a lot of stacked into that already. Nuncio Aquila, and then I think I took Inspiring Recantation. Honestly, either one of those. Fear of Justice is really solid. I just like buffing my friends, so it's really fun to do. Justifies measures, so essentially damage and successful attack. And then we practically claim this entire right tree just because it makes you pretty much unstoppable. So we'll go over here, hold the line, staggering enemy gains 1 sec of damage resistance. On the next melee attack, hit taken, stacking 5 times, lasting 8 seconds. Staggering non-human sized enemies grants 5 stacks. So just really good defensive bonus. And then on Emperor's Fist, 15% melee damage and 30% melee impact on first enemy hit. That's great with the crusher. That staggering rending is really good at stacking up. Same with this one, staggering you by melee attacks, take more melee damage. So the more and more we stack that, the more it's going to get really, really rude. Pushing grants 75% cleave for 5 seconds. That's just an easy one to activate. Block push, right? Or guarded strike. Gain 15% damage after heavy melee attack. We're already doing that already, right? With thrust. True Grit. That's just caps a lot of the damage you would take that would go over certain spots. It's really nice to have. Strike down. So we already have rending due to the hammer, and now we have rending inside this talent tree as well. I don't know how those actually stack, like, physically. But I've noticed a really good play. I've tested this build out a lot, so I would certainly try doing that. Forceful, so staggering hits and blocked attacks grant static forceful, lasting 5 seconds. Gives 5% impact and 2.5 damage resistance, removes stack on damage taken. And then we grab all the talents we can. Max stacks, you gain stun immunity, your perfect blocks and block all attacks. That's really useful. Adamant Will, that's what that last one was. Arbate's Vigilant. On combat ability, gain 2.5 strength for each stack, lasts 12 seconds, removes all stacks. Will Elects replenishes toughness for each second per stack. Great. Targets acquired, plus 10% attack speed and plus 50% cleave, and then Judicial Force. Staggering nearby enemies upon reaching 0 stacks or 10 stacks. 5-second cooldown, separate for each. So, in general, this has a lot, and I mean a lot of staggering and blocking associated with it. Not to mention, I like being a bulwark. I like being the paladin. You know, you like being the front and center, and I can take a lot of hits with this build. I don't tend to go down a lot with this, but like I said, there's a few points of probably optimization I could do in there with this ammo belt right here, or switching certain things out. I haven't noticed much play difference. I could optimize it a little bit more, probably go into some of these other trees if I wanted to. Like Rebreather, that's probably definitely worth taking. Oh. Yeah. It's okay. We're gonna leave it the way it is. I really like Roberta though. It's a solid one, just because it's passive. So now we'll just do a little gameplay real quick. Nothing too bad. So we have the bolt pistol here, and then we have the crusher. Both pistols pretty self-explanatory. You can kind of see how big that AoE is on close, that staggering force or whatever that blessing was. It's huge. And then that bleed isn't much, but sometimes it is enough to take down, like, say you get 2 hits in there, maybe you might have another one. And that AoE associated with that bolt pistol is just atrocious. I love it. And then we have shock mines. So you see that little click right there? That's how long it takes to arm that. You kind of got to be aware of where that's going, right? Yeah, door is smaller. Long throw, short throw. Long throw, short throw. And that's just a really fun weapon. I really do like that one. Nuncio is pretty self-explanatory. If you hold down F, you can zoom it around. You can deploy it at a distance if you want to. It takes a little time. I've noticed that, especially deploying the mine or this. You sometimes are pretty vulnerable during a really intense combat, but if you just set it down at your feet real quick, that tends to do it pretty well, right? So, and then the crusher, the activate ability is a giant spark, right? And then we just have the thrust build up, which particularly, yeah, see there's that sideways attack. That's the one I'm talking about. Guarded strike's kind of an upwards strike. And then that one is the heavy hitter. That one can really mess things up. Like, let's see what it does with this guy. Yep. 2 strikes. Not even that sometimes. Depending how your combat's rolling. And that can stagger crushers too. You see that? It can actually stagger them. That's really, really useful. That doesn't... Not many weapons can do that, or talents can do that, right? And that's pretty much it. Block push has that little upgrade thing. This guy's not too complex, but sometimes you want that, right? Something you want, like just a beater, right? And that's kind of what this build is. Like I said, there could have been a couple more points of optimization if we really felt like it, and I probably easily could. But just sometimes I've noticed some of these things are really useful to have, kind of just an off chance that you do need it. So yeah, there's that electricity damage. Doesn't do a ton, but that stun is amazing. I just love that for crowd control. So, yeah, I don't think I have too much more else. I mean, that was a pretty quick one. Usually they go about 20 minutes or so, but I mean, it's pretty obvious what you're doing. You're using the Nuncio to buff, the shock mine to crowd control, and then it regens that. And then the bolt pistol to take out priority targets that you don't really want to deal with. And if anything gets too close, you'll whale them with the crusher. And then obviously the crusher's my main weapon. That's what I'm going to be shooting. If I have a chance to hit something at range and I can kill it instantly, I'm going to do that. Right? Problem is, the bolt pistol bucks around a lot, so that'll happen. But it's also a nice little crowd suppression weapon too. See that? So if you're kind of surrounded, you can blow a few shots at your feet if you got enough ammo and get them away from you. But that was Torsen-Winters. He's kind of got an ongoing beef with Gore Titan Banisher. And you guys will see that in game with his text lines. I haven't got to link too many of them every once in a while, but it was great seeing you, Travelers. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for your support and likes and subscribes. Really, really, really appreciate that, guys. And I hope to keep doing this for a long time for you and to be there for anybody that needs it, right? You guys have a good day. Okay, I'll see you later.